Council meeting for August 10th to order. Please stand for the pledge of the flag.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Roll call, please.
Duff.
Here.
Dumont.
Here.
Jeremy.
Here.
Malik.
Here.
McNutt.
Here.
Nedrow.
Here.
O'Brien.
Here.
Okay, additions to business. I know Mr. Gillum mentioned we need to add proposal for an AC unit in the dispatches
In the
area.
police department, that's correct.
And
I would like to add ordinance enforcement.
so we will put AC as pre-G1, I guess, if that makes sense. And code enforcement under pre-G2. Anything else? Seeing none, we'll move on to approval of the agenda.
So moved.
Approval of the agenda as amended.
Second.
Motion by Duff, second by, that was a tie.
No, give it to Dan.
Okay, we'll give it to Dumont. Oh, Bob's nice tonight. Any discussion on that? All in favor? Aye. Opposed, motion carries. As far as correspondence goes, we've received a couple things. Looks like Charter Township of Commerce is going through their master planning process, just like we did. And a thank you letter from Lakes Area Youth Assistance, and a letter from Mr. Daly, I guess. So with that, I have a motion to receive and file. Motion by Duff, second by Dumont to receive and file correspondence. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. And we're at the first call to the public. It's an opportunity for citizens to address council on agenda items only. So if anybody would like to address council?
What do you mean by agenda item?
It's anything that's on the agenda. So we'll have a second call to the public. You can speak on anything else that you would like to. So, okay, with that, moving by, seeing none, we'll bypass the first call, move the consent agenda.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion by Duff, second by Dumont to approve consent agenda, including lots of payables. Any discussion on that? I know we had a lot of, majority of that was a road paving. So that was the big chunk of it.
Road paving, and then there were a lot of annual memberships or dues that were paid too. So, yeah, this is a particularly
Heavy month.
heavy month, that's correct.
So with that, roll call vote, please.
Dumont.
Yes.
Jeremy.
Yes.
Malik.
Yes.
McNutt.
Yes.
O'Brien.
Yes.
Nedrow.
Yes.
Duff.
Yes.
We had no board appointments. And first up under 10A is a recommendation from Engineer Powell for the road paving program. Pay request.
Thank you, Council, very much. If you've driven around the southern part of the village, you've probably noticed that the contractor has not done their usual job in cleaning things up very quickly. I've had a number of major discussions with our contact as well as the owners there at ASI. They're having a very hard time getting staff and getting laborers. That is a very fairly labor-intensive thing, picking up all those items and loading them. And so we did some shoulder work, but we haven't done any heavy labor yet with the handwork. And so I have, as part of my recommendation, I'm going to be, well, I'll get to that in a minute. So anyway, that needs to be done. I also have a couple drainage items that are issues out on Wolverine Drive, and there are a number of ways to take care of those, and the administrator and I will be going over those options and bringing a couple of those to you at your next council meeting, unless we can hopefully resolve them even before that, which would be even better. So my recommendation, remember that we divided the paving up into two segments. We've combined 2 years paving into one project, but we've divided them into for budget reasons. Last month I brought before you the 2021-22 budget. These recommendations go into the $2023 budget.
Wish it was only 23,000.
Yeah, it'd be nice. We made some changes, field changes, that have really removed a great deal of costs from the project. And we have, if you were out there at all, we didn't do quite a bit of pulverizing. We did not pulverize the southern portion of Wolverine Drive. We did not pulverize Dunreath, and we didn't pulverize Brushwood. That saved the pulverizing that we didn't have to pay for. It also didn't require us to put 4 inches of asphalt down, just 2 inches. So we repaired some issues, and then we just put 2 inches over the top. And so this pay request doesn't include all of the paving, but it's a great deal smaller than it would have been if we had have done what it was originally designed to do. So my recommendation is for the payment to ASI in the cost categories that I have there for Major, Minor, and Clara Miller Park at a total cost of $79,686.50 to cover their invoices, less the 5% retention that I'm holding, just to make sure that they finish their project properly. On top of that, because of their inability to react as quickly as all of us would have liked, I will be asking, and I ask that if council so desires to authorize payment of this, that we ask Jennifer to hold that check until we get some action out of the contractor a little bit quicker than what we've had in the past to finish the project. And so I didn't want to wait a whole month and hold all their funds, but I think this will get their attention and say, okay, do you want to check? Let's get some laborers out here and finish your project.
I'll motion that we make this payment, $79,686.50, right?
Well,
Yes.
minus the retainage.
No, that
That includes the retainage?
Yeah, 5%.
no, you're correct. No, that includes the retainage. The retainage is out of that already.
Right.
With,
Oh, okay.
and then we will hold the check until you recommend release it.
That is correct.
Second.
Okay, motion by Dumont, second by Mr. Malik. Any other discussion?
Yeah, in defense of ASI, we've never had problems with them in the past.
No, we have not.
So, I mean, I don't want them to get, you know.
Well, I understand the
bad-
labor market, and
Right.
it's not like there isn't any
Right.
other road paving projects going on.
That's
I mean,
exactly right.
construction is a pain right now, so,
So in their defense, I mean,
Yeah,
they
yeah.
have been very good to the village in the past.
yeah, that's correct. And they did a nice job,
Yes, they did a great job.
yeah. yeah. So with that, roll call vote, I guess?
Pedro?
Yes.
Duff?
Yes.
Dumont?
Yes.
Malik?
Yes.
Jeremy?
Yes.
McNutt?
Yes.
O'Brien?
Yes.
If I could just bring up 2 other quick items. Hopefully, council has had a chance to pull in and out of the new entrance drive on Hickory Glen. They did a very, very good job. They've taken care of their own drainage. They put a dry well in so that they're not adding to the water that the village has to deal with down at Marshar and Glengarry Road. So kudos to Commerce Township for putting that new drive in and doing such a great job on that. And then just a real quick personal note, I will be here at the next council meeting, but in the meantime, I'm doing something I've never done before. I'm going as a missionary to Romania to work with and be a mission to the Ukrainian refugees that have crossed that border.
Wow.
And that's going to be the 25th through the 5th of September. So your prayers or thoughts while I'm out of the country, that would be great. Thank you.
Safe travels.
Yes, stay safe.
Yeah, thanks, Mike. Okay, we have no public hearings, so move on to 12, new business. Item A, request from Police Chief Ellsworth to purchase trade-in firearms from Keesler Police Service in an amount not to exceed $26.66.
Thank you, Mr. President. We are requesting, we're going to go from Glock 40 calibers down to the 9 millimeters. This was something I presented this spring when we were doing an annual budget. It's going to also reduce the cost of ammunition, and we're going to be able to actually get 9 millimeter ammunition, which is right now, it's hard to get 40 caliber ammunition, so this is just one of those things. They're giving us a pretty good deal, and we are increasing our guns from 10 to 12. I didn't think it was fair, now that our reserve officers have went out and purchased their own 40 calibers, that we turn around and make them go out and purchase the 9 millimeters. We want to have uniform handguns, and we can exchange magazines, etc. And so we're asking for 2666 for Kiesler, and Sergeant Morosco will be ordering them as soon as.
Motion.
Second.
Motion by Duff, second by Dumont. That is from budgeted funds, by the way.
That is correct.
So, any other discussion? Roll call vote, please.
Duff,
Yes.
Dumont,
Yes.
Malik,
Yes.
Jermaine,
Yes.
Hunt,
Yes.
O'Brien,
Yes.
Medrow.
Yes. And item B, request for Police Chief Ellsworth to purchase and update the current surveillance system from EOS Business Solutions for the amount not to exceed $40,000.
Actually, Mr. President, if I could, I'd like to address that not to exceed amount. Because we've been toying with this for years, actually, we've had two different companies come out at two different times and give us quotes. The last time they were out was last summer, and I called them earlier in the spring and asked them if there was going to be any increases. They agreed to hold the line for the cost. However, we started going over it line by line today, and we discovered that the things we're going to need, there's 3 additional items, and they're all cradle points, which is a modem that transmits the cellular signal. It produces it sends the camera signal back here to the station. Those were not included in that because we're going to go with a different company for the cellular service, and they were going to provide it. However, since that time, we've discovered that we are not going to be going with that cellular company, and so we are going to have to purchase those cradle points outright. To purchase those cradle points, they're about $1,500 a piece, so for an additional $45. I talked to Brent Kreider today, and he has suggested that we do not exceed $43,000 on this. Now, when we're talking about these cameras, this is going to include 16 cameras here at the Village Complex, as well as 2 cameras at the boat launch, as well as 4 cameras at Clara Miller Park, and 2 cameras, or possibly 1 wide-angle lens camera at the Veterans Memorial. So all of these are going to be included in that. They're the 4K cameras, they're the latest, the greatest. And since we're updating from the cameras we did have, they're going to have to rerun all new cables, etc., to make sure that they can handle the high definition. So with that, this is something we had talked about. I had estimated it was going to be higher than that this spring after we waited for another year to do this, but I talked to them today, and they're going to hold the price. The only thing is the additional cradle points that we need to purchase. So I'm asking for not to exceed $43,000.
Okay.
Motion.
Second.
Motion by Duff, second by Dumont, and I believe that was going to be coming out of our some of the federal funds that we
Stimulus
received.
funds.
Yeah, stimulus funds.
That's
So
correct.
We discussed that at budget.
Yep.
So with that, any other discussion?
Chief, how long will the video be stored?
I believe it's about 45 days. It's also, and we're going to work with our computer people on this, we had talked about actually putting the memorial view online on our website, so you could actually see that live. So that's something we're going to look into, see if it's something that's possibly we're able to do. So, but yeah, it's generally 45 days right now with all of the equipment that we have. It may improve with the new additional equipment we have, but that's about the general distance. So it's going to be really, really good. Plenty of time to discover something.
Right, yeah, I was talking to the Park and Rec Board yesterday about it.
Question.
Sure.
If we have a 45 days, will it automatically erase or?
Yeah, it automatically
It
goes
writes
back and
over.
just kind of rewrites itself.
Well, what I'm leading to is, let's say we find someone that's creating vandalism.
Mhm.
How do we go about pulling that so we don't lose it? I mean,
It's a
is
real
it-
simple thing. All I got to just download it to the hard
Download it,
drive.
yeah.
Okay.
It's a separate hard drive. I can actually download it to a DVD or even a USB.
Flash drive
port.
or
So
whatever, yeah.
There's a lot of different ways we do it, similar to what we do right now with our body cams and our
Okay.
in-car cameras. After a certain amount of time, it goes off, and the new stuff pushes on. So
Okay, thank you.
Anything else?
What's the generally effective distance that it's going to give you a clear picture?
if it's anything like the one 4K camera that we currently have up there, which I can read a book. If you're sitting underneath the pavilion,
Okay.
the camera is at the entrance on that telephone pole. I can zoom in and read a book over your shoulder. It's pretty
That'll work.
incredible. Yeah.
Yeah, I was thinking about the park and so.
Yes.
As far distances go, I mean, we've got some at our office, and you can really zoom in.
You can do a lot of good
Really good,
stuff with it.
yeah.
It's really nice. That one down there is a pan-tilt zoom. We're going to try to remain having that as a pan-tilt zoom. Most of the rest of them are going to be fixed because we'll have the majority of the areas covered. So, and pan-tilt zoom is great until you go to try to look at something and the camera's moving, so.
You try, and it's fairly reasonable at night, too. I mean, you can
Yes.
still get a fairly
Yep.
decent picture at night. It's usually black and white at that point, you don't get the color, but
If
Pretty
anything
clear.
were ever added or changed in the village or in the parks, would it be able to tie in an additional camera?
Sure, yep. As a matter of fact, I had talked to them regarding the possibility of adding additional cameras down at Clara Miller. Their only concern is the bandwidth of these cradle points, but I think overall, we're going to have some pretty good speed with that, so we're going to be okay.
Okay, anything else?
I would like to add, the cradle points are just like cellular phones, there'll be a monthly charge, but it's going to be under $100. We're paying $120 a month for our Comcast cable for Clara Miller Park alone.
That's what you said in your letter
So
there. so.
it's going to be a money saver in the long run. It may take a while to recoup the additional monies that we're going to spend, but I think it's going to be a great thing for us to have.
Mhm. Super. Anything else? With that, roll call vote?
Mallett,
Yes.
Jeremy,
Yes.
McNutt,
Yes.
O'Brien,
Yes.
Nedrow,
Yes.
Duff,
Yes.
Dumont,
Yes.
And still up for the police chief. It's authorization to hire a full-time police officer to fill upcoming planned vacancy.
Yeah, one of our officers, and I don't know that it's going to be a surprise to you, is actually, he's going to take his job back on the east side where he's from. He's in the final stages. He's been offered the job. He's in this process of the physical, psychological things that they do. He's expecting to hear by the end of this week. Tomorrow he finishes up, so Friday he should know. And he said he would submit a letter as soon as he did that, as soon as he's aware. Once he submits a letter, I would like the authorization to make an offer, a tentative offer, passing a physical and drug test to a person that I'm not going to name right now because he is still employed in another department, but at least gives him a time to be able to offer his resignation and give them their time.
Yeah, the other individual, just to jump in for a second, John, that's an officer that we had interviewed at the time that we were considering bringing Officer Skotsky back into the department. And the other officer,
It was almost
very
a
qualified,
coin
yeah.
tossed between the two of them. They're both very qualified. This young man is very mature. He's due to be married this year. And I've known him for several years. He's worked for a neighboring department, and it's good. It would be a really good fit, and we're really looking forward to having him. If we have to lose this officer, he will fit in just fine. So I would like the authority to be able to tender an offer to this gentleman, and we could get going. Mr. Gillum can swear him in prior to the next council meeting. I would bring him forward to you at the next council meeting so you have an opportunity to introduce him. But I really would like to get him going. We're already down one right now for a medical issue, and hopefully that person may be coming back sooner than we thought too. So we'll see how it goes, but I just didn't want to be down anymore. we're closing out our vacation seasons, which I'm going to get one in yet this year. But I haven't yet, but I will.
Motion to authorize the hiring of the new officer.
Second.
Motion by Dumont, second by Duff this time. Any discussion? Roll call vote?
Jeremy,
Yes.
McNutt,
Yes.
O'Brien,
Yes.
Nedrow,
Yes.
Duff,
Yes.
Dumont,
Yes.
Malik.
Yes.
Sounds like you're all set, Chief.
Thank you very much. We appreciate your time.
Super, thank you. Next item is Lower Hall, Village Lower Hall level restroom door operators, and we've been talking about this. This has been on the plan for way before you were here.
2.5 years before I was here, and I think before some of you were on council, too.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is through the use of our community development block grant funds to put the same handicap accessible door panel switches down here for the restrooms that we have on the entrances and the exits, both down here and also at the top of the building. Because of COVID, there were delays at the county level and the federal level in terms of the actual release of the block grant funds. Once that was released, there were some delays in paperwork with Stanley, and also then, once the paperwork had been started, then there were delays in terms of their ability to actually provide the product to put the door switches in. The product is in, as we understand. We've arranged for Clarence Mills, a Commerce Township resident who has done work on other village projects for us, to do the electrical work. I just need to get formal approval of the agreement with Stanley and the agreement with Mr. Mills to get all the work done. Hopefully we'll get that done, maybe even by the next time you're here for a meeting in September. So,
Great.
Motion.
Second.
Motion by Duff, second by Jeremy to authorize, what it looks like 4142 and 532
532.
for the electricals.
That's correct. And then in the long run, after we've completed the project, we've got everything paid out, then I can submit documentation to the county to get reimbursed for $3,500.
Right. So essentially, that's the motion. Any discussion? Guess I'm just glad to finally see it. We're going to have it accessible finally, so it'll be good.
We're getting close. I mean, I'll be happy when it's done, but we're
Yeah.
getting close. So,
A lot closer we were. That roll call vote, please.
McNutt,
yes.
O'Brien,
Yes.
Nedrow,
Yes.
Duff,
Yes.
Dumont,
Yes.
Malik,
Yes.
Jeremy,
Yes.
Item E, termination of lease for our old phone system, I guess, with NEC.
Yeah, that's correct. Yeah, we've switched our phone system over from AT&T through Grid 4, a provider in Troy, to Ring Central through Nordicom over in Novi. Brand new equipment that was all pre-programmed from Nordicom and Ring Central when we brought it in. That left us with the decision of what to do with the old NEC equipment that we have been leasing for the old system. And as I indicated in the memo, we have two options. We can either return the old equipment, or we can purchase the old equipment and then just dispose of it ourselves. And initially, you'd think that would be kind of a no-brainer, but actually there are some strings attached. We'd have to return the equipment to North Carolina. We'd have to clean the equipment, take any program that was relevant to our old system off, insure it, also pay for the shipping and things like that. It's not a huge amount of money difference between the two as it is. My recommendation is we just go ahead and purchase the old equipment, and then if there's any kind of an aftermarket for it, we'll sell it, but I think we'll probably just end up disposing of it.
Motion to purchase the old equipment for $1,013.37.
Second. Motion by Duff, second by Mr. Malik. Any discussion on that one? Roll call, please.
O'Brien,
Yes.
Nedrow,
Yes.
Duff,
Yes.
Dumont,
Yes.
Malik,
Yes.
Jeremy,
Yes.
McNutt,
Yes.
Okay, we're on a record pace tonight. Soon couldn't just join it there, I'm sure. So we're pre-G, AC in the dispatch. So I believe we have a quote from,
Yeah,
Item
we
F.
we skipped over
oh,
after that.
F, sorry, medical benefit plan contributions. That was too much of a hurry.
This is a decision that the village is required to make annually to comply with state law. We have several options under state law in terms of limiting the amount that the village will contribute to the cost of our employee health care. And for the last several years, we have chosen to opt out. And the other options are to follow the hard cap, which is also set by state law, to require our employees to contribute 20%, or the opt-out. The system we have now is working well. We opt out, the employees contribute less than 20%, but by virtue of the fact that we have a high deductible insurance plan, it ends up actually saving the village money in the long run. So we'd like to move forward with that. My recommendation is, again, this year, that we opt out under Public Act 152.
And that
Make a
would
motion
be,
that we opt out of the medical benefits plan.
that'd be starting coverage year January 1 of 2023.
Yep.
So,
Correct.
Second.
motion by Duff, second by Dumont. This would be like the 10th year we've opted out, I guess, right? 2013, you said? So-
Since you first had to make that decision, that's correct.
Yep, makes sense. Okay. Any discussion? Roll call vote on that one, I guess.
Monroe?
Yes.
Duff?
Yes.
Dumont?
Yes.
Malik?
Yes.
Jeremy?
Yes.
McNutt?
Yes.
O'Brien?
Yes.
Okay, now we're pre-G. So AC in the dispatch for PD.
There is a wall air conditioning unit in the dispatch center over at the police department. Last week, when it was so hot outside, the AC unit started blowing hot air. So we had a technician from Matheson come out and take a look at it. He indicated that the unit was bad. They followed back up. We had somebody else come out on Monday to take a closer look at it. He indicated to me that potentially the unit could be repaired, but it would be very costly. In addition, it's an older unit that uses the R2 refrigerant, which in and of itself is very, very expensive and very hard to obtain. His recommendation was that we just replace the unit entirely. We got the quote on Monday. We did contact another vendor in the area that has done work for the village before, and the quote we got from the second vendor was significantly higher, really actually even almost 50% higher than the quote we got from Matheson. So we're recommending that we go with the quote from Matheson for an amount not to exceed $31.27, and when we do that, we will also get a slight credit for the otherwise cost for the inspection that they did to determine that the unit was bad.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Dumont, second by Duff. Any discussion on that one? This would be non-budgeted funds, but
That's correct.
so we'll have to do an amendment. But, okay, roll call vote, please.
Duff?
Yes.
Dumont?
Yes.
Malik?
Yes.
Jeremy?
Yes.
McNutt?
Yes.
O'Brien?
Yes.
Monroe?
Yes. Incidentally, there's a 5-year parts warranty on it too, it sounds like, so.
And with the approval tonight, we'll have them out next Monday to get the unit installed.
Pre-G2, code enforcement, Mr. Malik.
Yeah, I have a couple of issues. Ran into this in the past, and this is hearsay, okay? But everybody here is familiar with Spencer Roofing. He did a job on Woodlawn, put one of his signs in the front lawn. And again, it's hearsay. The code enforcement officer came by, told the people they have to move the sign. If he comes back and it's still there, they're going to get a citation that's going to cost them $75. Again, this is Mike referring back to me. And I got another one, right, my neighbor, who's had an issue, plumbing issue. Had to have Maher in to do some work, okay? And they did some tear out. Maher puts a sign in their front lawn on Saturday. Code enforcement officer comes by on Monday, pulls the sign and drives away with it. People put up garage sale signs. I know he picks them up and takes them away. Village sponsored a garage sale this past weekend, 3 days. There were signs everywhere on Friday. I didn't see a one of them gone on Saturday. So, I mean, where do we draw the line, and what is the responsibility? Does a reputable representative that comes in here and does work, shouldn't they be allowed to be able to put a sign in for 4, 5, 7 days? You know, I just...
Well, there is an ordinance that limits the amount of time a sign is up. I don't know the exact time, but it's more than 2 days.
Well, like I
So,
say, I
yeah.
just, and I'm not, he's doing a great job, but somewhere we need to, I mean, if you had a roof put on your house and a guy, you're happy with him, why wouldn't you want him to advertise for 5 days or 7 days? And then boom, it's got to go. I don't dispute that.
Well, I know there's something about the road right away too, right?
Well, that's number one, yeah. If the signs are placed within the road right-of-way, then the code enforcement officer will pull those right away because they can't be in the right-of-way.
Well,
Potentially.
again, I'm going by what happened this weekend, the village-sponsored garage sale.
Yeah.
There were signs in the road right away that stayed there. And, just
How
because
many inspectors did we have working this weekend?
we have one that works on
Friday and Monday.
Friday and Monday.
But not on Saturday or Sunday?
No.
No.
Okay, but the signs were out there on Friday. And I know they were in the road right away because I live at Thurston and Benstein, and there was one right there on the corner. It was the road right away. So,
Well, I didn't specifically discuss the garage sale with the code enforcement officer, but given that it was a village-sponsored event, I think if he had asked me, should I be pulling signs out of the right-of-way for garage sale, I would say probably not.
well, I would say yeah,
Yeah.
because it should be fair to everybody.
Yeah, so, I mean, as to the other instances, I don't know the specifics. I do know that he did have conversation with Mike Knish from Spencer Roofing after the incident with the sign. I don't know how that was resolved or not.
Well, the man pulled the sign, I know that.
But
Okay,
generally speaking, because the issue has come up before during the period of time that I've been the administrator here, and what the code officer has indicated to me is that he'll give people a reasonable amount of time to have the sign in their front yard. Most of the time, or in some instances, my experience has been, that's part of the contract. Somebody comes in and they do the work. They want to be able to have the sign in your front yard. You've got to give them the okay, or else they're not going to do the job. But I think he's allowed the signs normally to stay for a reasonable amount of time, but not for more than a couple weeks, certainly not for a month or
well,
anything.
like I say, the one right behind me at the Mahar sign, okay, I believe they put it in either Friday or Saturday. Boom, it was, I watched them pull it on Monday. And my next question is, if they pull a Spencer Roofing or a Mahar or whoever, do we owe the people we pulled the sign a decency to call them? And, they pay for these things. Your sign's here at the village. Or do we just throw them in the trash? I mean, if you throw away 10 Spencer signs, 10 people are going to pay more for a roof if he puts one on. So,
Yeah,
I'm playing the devil's advocate here, but I just don't feel it's right.
Yeah, and I believe that we store the signs here for a little while, but I'll confirm that with the code officer the next time I talk with him.
I mean, if you pull one of their signs and say, hey, he's in here doing paperwork, he's got a phone to use, he can call them and say, we pulled one of your signs, it's here at the village if you want it. You've got, this is Friday, you've got till Tuesday or whatever. Then if they don't come, then we dispose of them. Trying to keep it a friendly community, which, it is. And I think it's important for everybody that lives here to have stuff done. Personal opinion. Thank you.
Yeah, I'll follow up on that, Bob.
Thank you.
Anything else? Okay. At this point, we're at the second call to public, so if you have something to say, we'll open the call to public. So motion, looks like we're going to have, if you can step to the mic, or we've got a portable mic somewhere, I think. Huh?
Motion to open.
Yeah, motion to open the public.
Second.
That was a motion by who?
I motioned it. He gave
Oh,
Terry.
okay, well, Bob. Hey, motion by Duff, second by Dumont to open to the public. If you can state your name, address, and
Jim and Linda Copey, 2591 Avery Court, off of Apple Orchard over here. And we would like to know why, how, and who approved a halfway house that's right in my backyard without letting us know, the residents, these are residents that live in that neighborhood too, without letting us know, without a meeting, a letter, anything, notification that they were putting in this halfway house that has criminals that were charged, that
So this is what we're hearing now.
This is what we're
that
hearing.
They're not just a halfway house, it's a halfway house for people who have
Criminally
found
charged.
crimes.
and gotten off on
On
insanity. And we would like to know who approved this without coming. When the Moose Jaw Refs Corner, we live right behind it. When that became a church, we had all kinds of letters in the mail, saying, notification, you guys want to dispute this, petitions and that.
For a church.
So we would like to know what's going on. I have grandchildren that live with me. I've got new kids live next door to me. These people are yelling, screaming all hours of the night. This is what I heard, is that they're allowed to leave there, walk to the store, get their liquor, beer, wine, whatever, and come back. They're screaming, they're swearing, and like I said, I've got grandkids that live with me.
Well, and it's a burden on our police department because they're now being called numerous times where, you were talking about signs and yards, but we live in this neighborhood for 29 years that has been
Great community,
a
we love
place
it.
of peace, a great place to live. I would have never wanted to leave. Now I can't even sit in my backyard without hearing profanity, demonic shouts right across my fence. And it sounds like people are being hurt, even though they're probably not. It sounds like it. What's coming out of that house sounds like it. So, yes, we need to call the police every time. And now what we've been told is to keep calling, and then it will be turned over to the state.
So
And
we
what's that going to
would
do?
like to know
What can be done?
who
What are-
approved this.
What are the rules? What are the zoning rules? Is this allowed to have this house less than a half a mile from an elementary school? There's an elementary school down the street,
Right, yep.
so
Is this on Glenview?
it's
It's right next to the refs
It's
corner, the old
16
It's that little house right next to,
refs corner and Moose
that's
Jaw
corner,
used to be.
the beige brick house, or the,
across from the barber shop.
Yeah.
Right. So we would like to know how that got approved without us.
yeah, go
being
ahead,
notified.
Dave, because I really don't know a whole lot about it.
We first learned about what was going in at that property because there was work that was being done on the inside of the property without any permits. So
Right.
it initially became a code enforcement issue. We had code enforcement over there writing the owner of the property warnings and then eventually tickets. That forced them to come in and apply for the permits. Through the permit process, we were able to find out who they were and then eventually find out what it is they were doing. What they have there is, it's a small group home, a residential facility. By state law, that is something that is classified as a residential use. And as a residential use, because it's a residential zone, we have no ability to say that they can't come in and have that kind of use at that particular area. There was a time in the past, years ago, when you could make that basically a special land use and you could put all kinds of restrictions on it, but the state legislature determined that people communities were using that authority to restrict and exclude residential facilities, so they changed the state law. So we have no ability to say yes or no over whether or not they can come in. They are residential, considered to be a residential use, and they can move into that house and use that house just the same as any family could
So
move in there.
who is, yes, okay, so who is they? Is this a corporation that owns it? Are they making money off them living there? Are
Is
they
it state
subsidized
funded?
by
Is
the
it
state?
federal funded?
As I recall, it's a company that's out of Kalamazoo, and that's how I was able to find out what was going to be going in there, because once they came in and applied and we learned the name of the company, I was able to do some research through the state records and able to find out that they did have a number of other licensed group homes in other communities in Oakland County and in Michigan. So that's how we knew. Yeah, it is a company. I assume they are probably getting some money from the state, possibly from the federal government. It is a for-profit entity. Yes, they are making money over there. The bottom line is, we couldn't tell them no, that they couldn't come in. All we can do is to try to monitor the behavior now that they are in, and I've had conversations with the chief about it too, and I agree with him. Really, all we can do is, when there is a problem, be sure you call the police. The police department will respond. They'll make a record of what was going on. If they need to, they could write tickets. They could potentially even make arrests, although it's kind of a, when you talk about people who have diminished capacity, it can be an issue.
Right.
But at least we can establish through the police department there is a problem over there, and eventually we'd like to think we can raise the issue with the state. Whether or not they'll do anything about it, I don't know.
Well, we were just really
Just
concerned.
yesterday, there was 4 sheriffs.
Wait, you gotta come up.
Yeah. So we still want to know why we weren't notified. Anything else that happens around there, we get
Somebody
notification.
can't put an
You know-
extension on their garage without everybody getting a letter.
Right, within 300
saying,
feet, yeah.
You know, I
you
mean,
know,
when they
why
wanted
is
to
it
put the
that
soccer fields at
something
Clara
like
Miller,
this can
you
be
know, we got all
happening in a
kinds of,
village that
we don't know.
I can address that just real.
Okay.
One of the things is privacy. Unfortunately, just because people move in and move out of the neighborhoods, we can't notify everybody. The same way with when a sex offender moves into the neighborhood. We can't notify the neighbors, hey, you have a sex offender in the neighborhood. We can't do that.
Right.
The same thing applies when somebody new moves into the neighborhood. We can't send out letters saying, hey, there's somebody new moving in the neighborhood. Same principle applies to these folks. These folks have a certain right to privacy. We've talked, I think, about some of these things that have been going on down there. I know me and Mr. Gillum have talked. I am very upset because I think my officers are more at risk now than they ever have been before, and I'm very concerned. And we are documenting every time we are called. And yes, anytime we go there, you're going to see 4 cars show up because I'm afraid for my officers. We were there yesterday. Between 2 of them were fighting. 4 officers, 3 deputies and my officers showed up. We're not going in there like we would for a normal mom and pop fight. We're not going to do that. We're going to go full force because we don't know what we're walking into. As well as you guys understand, you live it. I don't like it any more than anybody else, and I think I made myself clear to you guys when I sat down with a couple of you and let you know, call when you hear it, we respond, we deal with it, we document it. And hopefully we'll get enough, ammunition, as it were, to be able to notify the state, hey, we have an ongoing problem here, this is in the middle of a residential area, we don't think this should be licensed here, and maybe we can get some. But believe me, we were just as upset as you. I'm very worried about my officers because I'm sending them in there to deal with these people. And we're actually taking names of the employees because I think part of the problems are the employees that work there also.
Right.
So we're making sure we're doing our due diligence to make sure that we have everything documented, so when we submit it to the state.
Well, that's very much appreciated.
We have no doubt that you guys
And I appreciate that, but like I said, I'm just as concerned as you guys are. Even though I don't live there, I'm still responsible, and I'm also responsible for my officers, and I am concerned for their safety. And this is the first time I've ever had something like this move in here.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, we can't publicize something like that. I think there's a privacy issue when we do that. I mean, I'd like to have been able to go door to door and say, hey, just keep an eye on things around here, but we can't really do that.
Are there any laws with how far they can be from an elementary school?
Or children, or,
daycare,
I mean,
anything like that?
It's not like, it is not like, for example, a sex offender, for example.
That's what I would like to know, is what their
It's a
background is, what they're charged.
It's 1,000 feet from a school, so even though, you
How do
know.
we find out if they were, I would like to know each one of those guys, what their background and what they were charged with criminally.
I can't find that out either until we have a run-in with them.
I thought that's
And we
not
can't-
public information.
You
where I
can, but if you know who they are, yeah. But we don't even know, I
Okay.
mean, we don't even know their names until we show up there and we have to deal with them. But we can't publicize that. That's
Right.
something that you would have to do some due diligence to find out,
Okay.
you know.
But I mean, we wanted to sell our house right there. There's no one that's going to buy our house right now. It's bringing down our property values. It's bringing down the village.
Yeah, and I mean, my grandkids, they're hearing the F-bombs, this, that, like she said, demonic stuff. And I just,
And we have responded every time we,
Yes,
you know,
we
and we
appreciate
try to put that to rest,
We would
but
call you every time we hear something.
it would be 3 times.
I know, we'd be down there a lot. And well, when they first opened up, we were getting called down there quite often. And I wasn't sure if it was from the employees actually calling or residents calling, but we were getting called down there 2 to 3 times a
They put up a
day.
nice privacy fence, but
Yeah.
our property sits up a little higher back there. Is there any way they could put up arborvitae's, big, tall, you know, I mean,
That's something that,
we'd
you
have
know.
to talk
well,
with the owners.
And the planning commission and a few other hoops to jump through, but, you know, I guess to kind of wrap this up for me is we are well aware of what's going on. We are doing everything in our power that we can do to eliminate any threat to our community and my officers, because, To me, I would feel horrible if one of my officers went down there and got hurt by one of them people, and I probably would come unglued too. So, but as it stands, as far as notifying you, we can't by law. It's a privacy issue. As far as letting you know who lives there, man, I wish I knew who lived in all these houses when we have to go to before we got there, but unfortunately, we don't. So I know there was a couple of them that were removed fairly quickly. One was here 5 days, and we had 3 run-ins with them, and one of them is gone. And as soon as we found out what was going on there, we raised the bar a little bit.
When you say there's employees there, is there employees there 24 hours?
Yes, there are employees there 24 hours. Minimum of 2 is what I'm told.
Oh.
Yes.
So,
Do they have to sign in and out? Are they free to come and go as they please?
as far as I know, they have certain rules and regulations, house rules. I don't know if there's any type of legality that we can enforce, but there are house rules that they have to live by. And that's, well, we're learning this as we go too. So I don't know what all they are, but I do know that they do walk down to the party store. They're not supposed to, I don't believe, buy alcohol, but they do.
Right.
They buy their cigarettes and other things too. And yeah, so we are well aware of it, and I really wish there was more we could do right now, but we're doing our due diligence.
Appreciate it. Thank you, Chief. Mike, you good?
No, I mean,
State your name and where you live.
Name and address, please.
Mike Waldick at 2571 Avery Court, and just to kind of back that up, I mean, we appreciate what you guys are doing, we appreciate what you guys are doing, and it's just like our concern, not only for us and for our grandkids and the new kids in the neighborhood, the young ones. Like when we first moved in there 25 years ago, we all had kids that were little, we didn't have to worry about that.
Mm-hmm.
But now, like they said, their grandkids are there, 8 years and younger, 4 of them, or 3 and 1 on the way. The neighbors next to them have a 3-year-old and a brand new baby, and there's other young kids in that neighborhood, and it's concerning. I mean, obviously it's concerning for us,
Our yards touch this yard.
but it's concerning, as you stated, and I couldn't state it any better. I mean, I'm driving home yesterday, and there's 4 cars, an EMS, and a fire unit there. And that's not uncommon. And I feel, like you said, I wouldn't want your job or the sheriff's job any way in the world that have to walk into something like that. And to have it that close to this community is just frightening. And no offense, great state, but I don't have any confidence that the state's going to do anything if it gets to that point. Unfortunately.
Yeah.
What we're doing is as much as we can do. And like you said, I appreciate it tremendous. We all do what you guys are doing. Because, I mean, when you send 4 cars to something like that, 1, it's because there's something going on, and 2, it's because you are concerned. Because something like that wouldn't normally get 4 cars in a small house like that.
Right.
So you are concerned that we get that. It's just a concerning thing, and we just, especially with that, we wanted everybody to hear that. You know what I mean? I mean, when you're talking, as many of you have lived here as many years as me.
Yep.
That is a frightening thing to hear.
Just to let you know, I'm on a planning commission. I've been on a planning commission since '98, and we try to do what's right for the community. And unfortunately, in this instance, I guess we couldn't have done anything. I mean,
Well, there's nothing, I get that.
Yeah,
I mean, they come in, they buy it, they don't have to tell you, and like you said,
laws don't back
if they
it
would have had their things in order, you might not have never known what was going in there until it was all done.
One of the only things I would suggest is that, and I think you
Document it.
people, and John's aware, that you keep your cool and you call the police. Even if you have neighbors, because all that will do is accelerate it.
Oh, if you go over there, you have a fence, then you got a whole
and
nother
I mean
issue.
for
And we don't want
everybody's safety.
No, I'm a lover, I'm not a fighter.
Well, no, I'm not, but I'm just saying, sometimes the odd comment creates a problem.
Right.
Yeah.
But just as long as everybody's wearing, and we know you're wearing. I mean,
Yes.
Chief, I mean, it's,
And I, just so we're clear, I discussed it with Mr. Gillum,
Right.
and
it's just an unfortunate
I
thing.
was disappointed, and I think he knew I was disappointed when we found out that there really isn't anything we can do, and we can't regulate it, we can't, there's certain things that I'd like to see in the village, and certain things I wouldn't like to see in the village. And unfortunately, that's one of the things I don't want to see in the village, but we have no control over
You
it.
don't, because I get that.
But at the same time, what we can do is document, And, you know,
Build a case.
yeah, and that's really, unfortunately, what we're doing. I'm going to talk to our state rep, you know, see if there's something we can do as far as, maybe they can start jerking on some ears up there as far as the LARA, the regulations people, maybe they can do something a little bit better, you know, and if the corporation hears that we're, you know, grabbing some senators and state representatives' ears, they might consider, you know, moving on, but,
Or at least cleaning up their act a little bit.
yeah.
Trying to enforce it, yeah.
But you get it, they're not doing it unless they're making money.
Yeah.
Let's all be honest, we know what they slide in and they make their money because they get state funds, federal funds. We all know that. That's what it's all about. Unfortunate. So, but thank you, we appreciate your time.
Yes.
Thank you for presenting.
Sorry I had to.
Thanks for coming in, I
We all have
appreciate
to
that.
go through it, yeah.
Thanks, Chief.
Thank you.
Chief, in terms of what you've seen, is there any rules or regulations regarding whether or not an addition, somebody, that same corporation or another one could move into another residence?
I think there is a limit on the size. I think we talked about that. As far as multi-residential facilities, I think
Different
there
types of licenses,
there are different
yeah.
types of licenses that will require different types of zoning and planning, but this is actually considered a residence, because I think it's 6 and under, 6 residents and under. And so they can move in next door. And
To any of
there's
us.
not
Any of us,
anything-
You look at
and
any
on
property that's
any
been
of
sitting
us,
for
so-
a while, and you kind of wonder if they...
And, you know, really, I think that might be something we need to reach out to our representatives and say, hey, look, this is going on, it's going on here, is it going on in other communities too?
I'm sure it is.
Yeah, I'm sure it is too.
Yeah.
I mean, this particular corporation owns many of these, so, but I would like to see it addressed, and
Who would we
again,
contact, or would we go online to find out what their charges were against these guys, and if we could, I mean, we had to investigate, right?
unless you know their names, you're not going to find out who they are, or, I mean, unless you know their names, and then if you do, you might be able to Google it and see what,
Right.
yeah, but other than that, you know.
Just contact our representatives.
If you
Yeah,
do-
I would definitely contact your representatives and say.
If you do happen to hear something, if you could get an audio of it, maybe that would help too.
Well, the thing of it is, and it goes back to what
Hearsay.
Mr. Gillum said, it's not even that. They are deemed generally mentally challenged. The prosecutor's not going to prosecute because they've already been deemed mentally incompetent. And so they can't be controlled, so to speak, and so they're not going to be responsible for their own actions.
Okay.
Therein lies the issues that we have. Yesterday, it was an assault. 2 guys went after each other. We submitted to the prosecutor. It's going to be denied because they both have previous issues. So, yeah, we're believe me, I don't like sending my officers down there. When I hear that, I go down there too when I'm working, because I don't want them down there by themselves, and I don't want them down there getting, I want to be able to watch their backs. It's very concerning for me as well. So I'm very, very well, they made me, one of the other neighbors called me last week, and I sat down with them, and we had a good conversation, and I suggested, you know, you guys make sure you call every time, and if necessary, come speak. So thank you guys, appreciate it.
Thank you.
Yep, thanks.
Thank you for coming in.
Motion to close.
Second. Motion by Duff, second by Dumont.
Thank you again.
Thank you. To close the call to public. Set topics for the August 24th work session.
Motion to forego.
Second. That's usual. Motion by Duff. Forego the August 22nd, 24th work session. That was a second by Dumont, I believe. Malik? Was it Malik? Malik again? Jeez, I'm off. So give it to Bob then.
2 months just automatic, right?
Yeah, I know. It's just the Duff Dumont show mostly. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Pending business. I don't think we have any pending, do we?
No, thank you.
Update from Police Chief Ellsworth.
Well, I was going to say I don't have anything, but I have 2 things. One of the things is obviously As you are now aware, that this residence down the road here is going to be I'm not saying we're going to target it, but I am very, very well aware of what's going on down there, and it does concern me greatly for the officer's safety. Some of these have been violent, so yeah, I'm glad it's on everybody's radar now. Second thing is for those of you that don't know, a longtime resident, they were here for close to 60 years. Faye Stamper passed away this week. So she was recently placed on hospice and had kidney failure and passed away Monday, August 1st. So, and she was very dear and close to me, and I'm going to miss her for sure.
Yeah.
And for those of you that have been around for years, you remember her and Sam rolling down here in the wheelchair, and Sam was very particular in how he said things. So, but I am definitely going to miss them. But
Yeah.
other than that, I think that's it. Thank you.
Actually, Chief, last weekend and the weekend prior was the Kroger food drive, right?
Yeah, I still haven't got the numbers back yet, but we did, there was 119 stores. All right, I'm going to pat myself on the back here real quick. 4 years ago, myself, Steve Grunwald, and the regional director from Kroger, Rachel Hurst, sat down and said, what can we do? Because summertime, kids are hungry, we need to be able to feed them. How are we going to be able to do emergency responder food drive? Those police departments, they didn't want to get involved. We get the fire departments involved, make them jealous. So we started out that first year, we did really great. Almost 750,000 pounds of food. So, and that was great. COVID hit. And it didn't go over so well. We pushed back. Last year we did okay, not as great. This year we had 119 stores. So we had 80 different departments. Some departments had 2 different stores. So far we've raised about 1.5 million meals.
Wow.
For our local food banks. So between the 5 local food banks here in Southeast Michigan, we got them in Jackson, we got them in Lansing, the Tri-City, Bay City, Saginaw, and Flint area, and all the way over towards Clare and Mount Pleasant. So that took off from just a discussion that we had. So, and Steve was always saying, we need to get this nationwide. It's kind of like, whoa, slow your roll. That's a lot of work. And Steve was on the phone a lot, calling all these different departments, and it's been really great. But it just goes to show small departments can make a difference in the state. So,
I noticed Steve did a spot on Channel 2 on Saturday morning.
Yeah, Saturday morning, yeah.
And then he was at MIS and did a spot out there.
Yep.
And about, even before the race started, he was back patrolling on Lake Erie. Holy moly.
Yeah, he didn't sit still much that week.
No.
And, that was obviously a difficult week for me because I was with Faye during her hospice last hours, but it was a tremendous success. Like I say, I still don't have all the numbers yet, but it was really neat to see how something like that took off, and now it's all the way across the state. So
It was a good thing.
it's been fun to take part in.
Okay, appreciate it. Update from Treasurer Hanson.
Tax bills are due by August 31st,
Better tell my
and
son.
summer's coming to an end, and that's it for me.
Okay. Mr. Gloom.
We're just kind of grinding away here at the Village Hall these days. Just a reminder, because we had a call last week or the week before, just a reminder to everybody, we are not having a goose roundup this year. You'll remember that...
They can fly now.
Yeah, no, because of the avian flu, the bird flu, the state decided early in the year that they were not going to be issuing any permits for any goose roundup. So the geese that you see on the lake are the geese that we're going to have.
Yeah, we would have had a heck of a time trying to run them up after probably the 1st of July anyways.
The other thing I just want to mention to everyone, and I know I touched on this in the update that I gave to all of you on council last week. Even as we've been meeting here tonight, the Oakland County Board of Commissioners is having a special meeting to consider approving a public transportation millage for the ballot in November. And I watched roughly 2.5 hours of public comment before I came down here for the meeting, and some of it was nasty. So this is going to be a hot button issue in November around here. Lines are being drawn along party lines, along socioeconomic lines, along geographic lines. It's going to get very, very nasty. Part of the problem, from my perspective, is that there really hasn't been very much information that's been made public about the proposal yet. As I understand, the first time that there was any public discussion, that is outside of party caucus meetings, was last Thursday. And then here we are on Wednesday, potentially taking a vote to put it on the ballot in November. So
That would be Oakland County, correct?
that's
We
countywide.
would have no control over it.
Well, and what's different about this is in prior years, the Oakland County, the SMART millage, and this is broader than SMART, but the SMART millage in the past has been an opt-out. And so if an individual community did not want to have to pay the SMART millage, you were able to opt out. And in fact, that's what the
That's what we did with Commerce Township.
Yeah. And so, what we've done is we've opted out in the past, and then the municipal credits that we get from the state that would normally go towards SMART, we turn those over to Commerce Township, and we have another company, a private company, that's providing service to the Commerce Township and our residents, and it's working really, really well for us. In fact, I've got a meeting next week with Larry Gray and some representatives from the company, the People's Express, about potentially expanding the service even. So, but this is a different kind of an animal this year, because it's not a millage that would go to SMART directly. It's a millage that would go to the county, and the county would be divvying out. Some of it would go to SMART, some of it would go to the North Oakland Transportation Authority, some of it would go to the Western Oakland Transportation Authority, which is the group that serves White Lake and Highland Township. Some of it would go to the Older Persons Commission. It's an organization out of Rochester. But again, the thing that's different about this, there is no opt-out. So the supervisor from Highland Township got up and spoke at the meeting today, the public comment, and I thought she made a kind of an interesting comment. She said, we have 10,000 people that live in Highland Township, or Springfield Township. We have 10,000 people that live in Springfield Township. If every one of those 10,000 people goes to the ballot in November and votes against the millage, but the rest of Oakland County decides that there should be a millage, every one of those 10,000 people that live in Springfield Township is going to have to pay the millage. So this is different this year. I'm going to try to get as much information as I can to provide to all of you. Hopefully there will be more information forthcoming, because it sure looked like it was going to be on the ballot, given
So let me
the
ask you a
numbers
question.
that
Would
the
that be
county-
something that we could go to our county commissioners and gripe about a little bit or something?
Well, depending upon the vote tonight,
Right.
if the vote was for putting it on the ballot, it's going to be on the ballot.
Okay.
So there's nothing you can do about that. At this point, it just becomes a question of making sure that everybody's educated, to understand what the cost would be. It's the millage, I think, is like 0.95
0.95,
mils,
I think.
0.95.
I think I read that somewhere.
Yeah, so to translate, so for every...
Significant.
Yeah, so every...
What service are we going to get out of that?
Nothing. Virtually nothing.
That's the question. I mean, Larry Gray from Commerce Township got up and he's made a couple requests to find out what the plan is. And I don't think he's heard yet. So that's one of the questions I'm going to be asking too. So I'm going to try to get as much information I can. I'll try to get it to you, so you can be informed on the issues, and I'll try to get as much information as we can so we can share it with the public.
We could post on the website even.
Yeah. It'll links to information or something like that.
Yeah.
As more of it becomes available. So, but it's going to be something to talk about this fall around here. So, that's all I have. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Council comments. We'll start, Mr. Malik.
Well, this is a first. You guys all have a nice month. We'll see you next month.
Mr. Duff.
Couldn't say any better.
Mr. Dumont.
Hickory Glen looks good. So I did see the entrance. I drove through it a couple times. It looks nice what they're doing. Looks like they were respectful of our offices here, and like you mentioned, the drainage.
Planted some pine trees too, recently.
The paving on
this week.
the south side of the village is quite an improvement. It really looks nice. I've been stopped a few times, people saying, hey, thanks guys, so I'll pass it along. And it's appreciated.
Okay. Bill?
Until our next meeting, I hope you all stay very safe and healthy. And Chief, I just want to say I'm very sorry about the loss of your friend.
Mr. McNutt?
Just have a great Labor Day, because we'll be back after that.
Yeah.
Corn roast.
Mark?
We got the fishing contest this Saturday.
This Saturday, yep.
So we'll be out there bright and early. You can still sign up, even the morning of. Tuesdays in the park, final one of the year on August 23rd. We got a climbing tower. And then, of course, we got the corn roast on September 10th. So anybody who wants to attend, help out, let us know.
Okay, and we were on record pace, but with that, I don't really have anything to say either.
I do have one other thing. If anybody needs tickets to Taste of the Lakes,
yeah.
we both have tickets for sale. So
September 21st, is it, 23rd?
I think it's the 23rd.
23rd, yeah.
Yeah.
We also have tickets available for sale there at the Village Hall, too.
September what?
23rd?
23rd.
Friday?
No, it's
No,
Thursday.
it should be like a Tuesday.
Tuesday.
I think it's 20th.
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 Friday, September
Yeah, there it is.
It's not the golf outing.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying, 23rd is the golf outing.
23rd is the golf outing. That's what I remember, the 23rd.
September 20th. It's a Tuesday.
It is a Tuesday.
Tuesday, September 20th.
5 to 8 on Tuesday night. With that,
Motion to close?
motion adjourned.
Yeah.
Second?
Second.
Motion by Duff, second by Dumont. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, everybody.